I don't know if our Brazilian friends are out here in the audience or not, but they were talking about substantially smaller crops in Brazil going forward. 365 million, I would call kind of an average crop in São Paulo over the last 10 or so years. Not the big decrease that some people were talking about. And so now we got a problem, because Concentrus then funded the storage of juice to bring juice out of 11-12 into 12-13. We now have a pretty sizable crop here in Brazil again in 12-13, because the U.S.A. has reported a smaller inventory, but we'll visit this some more in a second. There are several reports coming out of Brazil, and I just heard them here again this morning, however, that processors are only processing fruit from groves that they own. Remember, they own about 1/3 of the groves in Brazil. And also then that fruit that they have obligated to process for long-term contracts. There's been no spot purchase of at least early return of fruit. And now that we're here into August, late August, middle of August, we're now actually getting through the early mid-period into their para, which is, of course, is the big variety of boxes. Okay, now. Okay, now I know Lisa's point. Now, of course, with two screens, this is always really easy. But let's look across there at the top first. Inventories are always, notice imports really haven't been doing anything. Carbendazim is probably part of what kept that number down in 11-12. But then also notice this movement number. We've heard a lot about movement and the decreased consumption of orange juice in the U.S. in 11-12. But they certainly accumulated a fair bit of inventory between 11-12 and then coming into this present season. Remember, we've got reports that 334 is actually too small, but that number ought to be more like. Notice that we were up in availability last year, but prices actually went up in Florida because of carbendazim, and we really should have seen a little weaker price last year, and we didn't. So, what if we produce 150, 10 million boxes, 65 million gallons? That's not going to make a huge big difference. The crop is in jeopardy of not being harvested. And the argument is it's about 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. They own about 1/3, they have about 1/3.
And most importantly, drinking orange juice will help you enjoy your day, however you want to.
Again, just a part of the public relations effort, get that video out there.
So, but with the mechanical harvesters going through at pretty intense levels, it can cause a lot of problems with tree damage. It can also cause problems with debris and loads, and we'll talk about that.
Our lighting system, some paras dropping the ground. I got a question from a reporter recently.
It's not an easy tree. The industry has to decide when it's going to transition, how it's going to transition, and that's something that doesn't happen because you snap your fingers. It happens over time. And we believe that we've been believers from the really
12 months, 15 months, and you know, we're going to keep this project going for about four years, and look at what the results are in 4 years, and does this continue to hold true in this particular setting. So again, I was trying to break up that potential for resistance developing in the water. So that's going to be crucial for your tree management programs. So let's close by thanking the CRDF for funding that's paying making all this work possible, also lab members.
Thanks, Michael. I can't promise to give you 95% of the information like Michael did. But what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to tie in
from RNA or DNA. It's isolated. Looked at the definition also deep sequencing rather than sit here and go into this too intensely, but it's not dependent on any prior sequence information. And with blight, I think a situation where we don't have any sequence information for what the causal agent is in the trees. So instead, we get information, especially from RNA species in the sample, and then start putting that together and trying to determine what that sequence means and what that sequence aligns up to with as far as pathogen goes. And I'll show you not only in this presentation about blight, but I'm also going to talk on the process, and I'll show you some information on the process on how we use deep sequencing. 5, 46, 34 different epiphytes that he's found, and they're most prevalent in the infected leaf stem and roots. And he's found these epiphytes, but there's been no dominant one species of bacteria found in blight-affected trees. The interesting part here on the twig sample, you can see these brown-looking, corky-looking lesions. These were once chlorotic. They then turned brown and kind of get erupted, and they almost look like cancer. They were pretty close, but it's all those. Fruit, you get the lesions on fruit, they turn brown like this, and this fruit, as far as fresh fruit, would be totally unusable. It doesn't affect much of the interior of the fruit. However, the situation is that if you get the fruit affected on the peduncle or even the leaves on the petiole, doing some next generation sequencing with 3 different systems. I'm not going to go into each of those systems, but there are 3 different types of systems that are different in the way they do the sequencing. But the main
essa exposição aqui, ó, síntese EXPO em Fort Myers, está sendo excelente, porque eles estão comentando, estão mostrando novas técnicas de colheita mecanizaada, mostrando o efeito da produção do caminhão da azeite no Brasil, o que acarretou nos sítios do mundo, o que repercutiu aqui nos Estados Unidos. O preço deu uma caída, houve uma contaminação na imagem inicial no consumo, mas já está voltando ao normal, porque eles acreditaram nas medidas tomadas. Então tudo isso foi demonstrado. E eu, como consultor dono de uma empresa no Brasil, frequentemente eu estou nos Estados Unidos e participando dessa feira, porque eu estou absorvendo novas tecnologias, novas informações, troca de informação com ex-professores aqui nos Estados Unidos, intercâmbio tecnológico com outros distributores do mundo inteiro. E tudo isso eu vou levar para o meu cliente no Brasil. A FJ Consultoria presta esse serviço de difusão de tecnologia.